Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Business Meets Life. How do you like my new glasses? All right, I love to try out something new. We're live on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, right over here. Not on Chinese social media, but 30 days of live podcasting every day, same time is over now. Or maybe not. So today it is all about the key takeaways. All right, so back to the normal glasses. Hope you like my glasses though. So what I want to share with you guys is a couple of learnings that I got from these 30 days. And funnily, somehow in between of the process, I didn't even realize anymore that, oh, wow, it's like day 20, day 25. Good. So let's go back. Why would you want to start a podcast? A lot of people are asking me this. Why do you put in the effort? Do you have any kind of help? What's the goal you're doing it? Is it because of you need to have more subscribers, for example? So this goes back to you. Podcast has a lot of different goals. One goal could be relationship building, right? I'm still new in Australia, so I just wanted to build new relationships, although I had interesting and amazing people joining me also from somewhere else, other parts of the world. I love diversity. Another goal I wanted to achieve is I love to try out new things. It's all good to get out of the comfort zone. For example, going live every single day, no matter if I'm extroverted or not, but it takes a little bit of courage, right? So yeah, what is your goal of why you're doing podcasting? A lot of people always think it's about the likes and so on. Sure, you want to go viral. Sure, you want to have more followers. You want to have more people subscribing to your channels, but it's also a little bit of work. So you really need to be clear on what is your goal, and then you adjust your technique towards it. Yeah, I think another key takeaway that I had during the process is actually the process. I feel like I changed the process a little bit, but at the same time, in order to make sure you can compare the metrics, you can check the data, the analytics. You probably also want to have a good process. So I didn't have too much planning time before I came up with the idea, hey, I want to do a 30-day live podcast, right? So I didn't have much of time to really change the process on before I did it weekly, now I did it daily, and different times, different format, right? So the process actually grew with me on the spot while I started the podcasting. I tried out a lot of different things. I used StreamYard, I used Riverside, I used going live directly from YouTube. Back in the days, I used Zoom as well. From Zoom, you can stream on Facebook and YouTube as well. But again, like LinkedIn has my biggest followership, so I tried LinkedIn at the same time. Again, this goes back to your goal. If I want to grow my YouTube, then probably this is what I found out. Then it's probably not so good to actually have people join live from LinkedIn while watching it on LinkedIn. But you have an option that you can actually tell your LinkedIn audience when you create this link, the event link on LinkedIn. You can tell them, hey, go to this third-party platform, for example, YouTube, right? Or then when I did it face-to-face, I sometimes would use this fancy camera. It's like 4K and higher resolution, but then it didn't. I had some challenges communicating to my online platform where I did the live streaming, because pre-recording with the Rode and very good of equipment versus, hi Edmund, nice to see you. So pre-recording your podcast versus live streaming it versus doing it both at the same time needs something called, for example, OBS virtual, where you connect this face-to-face, like your good Rode microphones and the cameras, you connect it to your StreamYard, to your Riverside. But in the beginning, I had challenges, and these platforms didn't communicate together. That's why sometimes, even nowadays, you still see me with different kind of microphones. Guten Tag, Edmund. Good to see you. Yeah, so I tried out so many different formats on how to do the podcasting, learned so much. It took a lot of creativity. And of course, finally, I changed the hi Thierry, salut. And then finally, for the podcast, I actually changed the process on the spot a little bit. So here's the good news. After 30 days of live podcasting, going back to my goal, what I've achieved, what I have learned, I've actually now realized, hey, you know what? I could stop at 30 days of live podcasting, right? But maybe this is just the start, right? Maybe I am just getting started now. And I have decided, here's the good news. Some of the people I wanted on my podcast were too busy. It took them longer because I only had about like 10 days before I started a 30-day podcasting since the decision I made, hey, I do it live every day. So not enough buffer time for the really busy people to book them in my podcast. So what happened? Because some of these people I really went on the podcast. Fun fact, the person was supposed to be number third, day 31. Today he had to decline on a short notice. It was so difficult to book him in. And I really wanted to do it in his home in Sydney, Australia, instead of just like doing it online while he's in Adelaide today. Yes. So this kind of like gave me the inspiration. You know what? Why not do the podcast for 2 months? So here's the good news. Yes, going back to my goals and so on, I was like, I'm going to do the podcast for 2 months now. This is the good news that came out of it. And now I have a better podcast as well. Another, I realized, oops, my papers are flying away. Another realization I actually had was I need to actually make sure that my podcast, like what I give back, like I want the podcast to be a win-win situation, right? And I give back like not just great content for these people who are on my podcast and they can reuse it for their own social media and I give them some awareness from my side. Some people had never done a podcast before, right? Some people have businesses where they're super successful. Thank you, Edmund. But they have never done marketing. They've never done any online social media podcasting work to talk about their successes and their work, right? So there's a lot of value I can give to these people who are on my podcast for free. But then I realized, let's be honest, even if you have a team, it still is a lot of work. The editing, maybe adding some of their own video demos or their pictures inside the podcast, then getting back to them. It's like this whole cycle. I'm currently working a lot on Cloud Code, plus like the team on improving on what I delegate to the team, what I automate with my AI agents. So yeah, work in progress, getting better on this one. So that while I did the 30-day podcasting, the process improved. More automation, more delegation. We tried out these new tools for our marketing and thumbnails and so on. Like soon you're going to see some different kind of thumbnails. Stay tuned on that. We have another 2 new team members onboarded where I realized, okay, it's not just about what does a person cost, what is their background, but another learning I got is for the process, for the delegation, for the automation, you really don't want to make your own mistakes. And because I didn't have so much preparation time, I realized, oh shoot, Janine, you know exactly, that's what you always teach others, model the best people. And then just today and yesterday, I had a hi Tan Jihoe. Today I actually spoke to 2 YouTube experts that are even more experienced in YouTube and thumbnails and SEO and growing your YouTube, whether it's long form, short form content and your channel. So I am about to hire a new person now for the second batch, right? So yes, you can make your own mistakes that I did maybe in the first 30 days, but then at the same time, again, like you don't want to make all of your mistakes by yourself. That's why you need to have better team members with that expertise or outsource it or whatever it is, right? Model the best, get people in so you have faster, bigger successes that fit to your goal. So yeah, I'm about to onboard another new person with a different expertise level in our team to support on that. As I said, the good news is we're now doing 2 months of live podcasts. I started to go to a lot of these networking events, conferences coming up here in Australia. You know, I joined a lot of stuff online as well. I might be going to Los Angeles next month and also to Shanghai in May. Again, I'm very excited about this. So I'm like, yeah, a lot of diversity. And yeah, 2 months of podcasting it is. And then some people said, Janine, why do you do it on weekends as well? Again, guys, this goes back to your own goals. Why would I listen to them if they say, oh, you deserve a weekend, you need some rest? Yeah, it is challenging to do it every single day, especially if it's the same time and it is live, not pre-recorded. But again, you got to go back to your goals while you're doing it. I have considered it, maybe I just do it Monday to Friday now for the next month for the batch. And this is coming because of the current process and the also the life goals that I have on how I want to use the nice weather here, how I use my time. So yeah, stay tuned on that. But yeah, these are a couple of things that I will share with you. And why would you want to listen to people who have not achieved of what you want to achieve? Always listen to the people who have the success or are more successful than you. And that's why I brought so many high multimillionaires and highly successful people in different niches to this podcast so that we can really model them, we can learn from them. Like proximity is very important. In this 1 week, I had about a proximity of like, let's say, maybe 7.5 hours with high multimillionaires from different niches, from the US, from Australia, that I spent time with. And it up-leveled my thinking, my mindset in many, many ways. And now it was a person who said, no, don't do it every single day. You deserve free time, right? Again, this goes back to different values. Are they an entrepreneur? Do they know what it takes? So yeah, who do you listen to? Who do you not listen to? Good. So we spoke about the goals. We spoke about the process creation. And again, it is like a step-by-step thing, ongoing. Same with the delegation. Same with up-leveling the tech, with up-leveling your processes, your automation, your AI. You're constantly up-leveling and improving. But again, you want to measure it. You want the results back from the podcast that you do. So yeah, I got a lot of learnings, did a lot of mistakes, did a lot of really good things. But the most important one of why I started the podcast and did it every day live, it's because of the relationships I'm building. Oh, hey Ria, I hope you hear me this time. Good to see you. Yeah, so it's all about like relationship building. And I was like, you know what? I can have a coffee with these people. And instead of having a coffee with the person and maybe asking the same kind of questions, thank you for your heart, sending your hearts back. I could have the same kind of questions with the person, ask them on the podcast. And then some other people can actually benefit from it as well, right? So I kind of combined it. Hey, let's have a catch up. Let's have a chat together with you guys can benefit from it as well. Like, my company is called Full Potential Partners, unlocking your full potential. So this is a different way in how I unlock your full potential in a lot of different things. Pre-recorded or like recording the podcast, creating a relationship, having a coffee with them, getting like deeper into relationship building through sharing vulnerability, authenticity. And I tell you another very interesting thing. Some of the deepest conversations we actually had once I turned off the button, and I actually got to spend so much more time with this highly successful person, sometimes for another hour or 30 minutes after the podcast, which is just amazing and so impressive. And I never would have spent 2 or 3 hours with those people if it wasn't for the podcast. Or sometimes, like I usually tell them, guys, we're meeting at 10:15 a.m. Sydney time. We have 15 minutes of buffer time in case of tech issues. But then again, it gives us time to have a small talk. And again, we're chatting about business, about life, and this chat, that extra 15 minutes, even before we go live, I would have never gotten for them if it was just a regular coffee chat, right? So you can see like relationship building is happening through the podcast in tons of different kind of ways. And that's why I appreciate it so much. I had a couple of people, they were on my podcast and then they spoke to other people and they're like, hey, I think you should be on Janine's podcast. You would really benefit from it. And that's how you also tap into other people's networks. But if I don't continue the podcast now and I said, okay, after 30 days it is done, or I go back to my my weekly podcast, I feel like I'm losing a little bit of the momentum. And that's why I said, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do a 2 months of podcasting now instead of just 1 month. I'm starting to see, I'm building this momentum. I'm starting to see some results. Some of these potential collaborations and business that might come out is actually just coming now, or is about to come up, or needs a couple of follow-up meetings from it. So that's why would I stop now? Gosh, I'm so excited to see you guys here joining me from all around the world, Latin America, from Asia, from Australia, and so on. Edmund, where are you based, by the way? Your German is pretty good. I didn't know. Are you German? Okay, we have French, German, Chinese in here, Brazilian. That's exciting. Good. What is another learning I got off? Yeah, today's day 31 of the podcast. Whew, yeah, tons of business collaborations can come up with it. You know, my coach JT Fox, he sometimes says it takes one person, one, no, one, sorry, he says one deal, one opportunity, or one person to change your life completely, your life or your business. Edmund, you're in Florida. Oh, you're Austrian. Das freut mich, Edmund. Schön, dass du heute dabei bist. So yeah, remember, one deal, one opportunity. This one person could change your life and your business forever. Could be that person that invests in your business, your next collaboration partner, that person from the podcast who is then introducing you to someone else who might be changing your life. You never know. It's the power of, I mean, I really believe in the butterfly effect, right? So that's why I decided, yes, I am going to keep it up, the daily podcast. And I don't know if you guys actually got some kind of value. I'd love to hear what has been your favorite podcast episode, like different kind of topics, or who was your favorite person? What questions or topics do you want to have on this kind of podcast? I feel like I still want to get a couple of people from the mining industry. I've never had someone from mining. If there's someone who's really cool that you want to introduce to me, please let me know, right? And I love going to people's homes and their offices, meeting them face to face instead of just doing it online. I would love to have someone from the hygiene, hospitality background. Haven't really done that yet. Or imagine yesterday, my good friend Vishal, an Indian in Australia that I've known for a year. And then we talk about Tandra. And he's in real estate, IT background, corporate background. And we talk about Tandra. What does it have to do with like business meets life? Yeah, what's my link to the podcast? You can look on YouTube or Spotify, Business Meets Life by Janine Jakob. So especially YouTube is up to date. On Spotify, we have not done the last episodes because I can't go. Can I go live on Spotify? I'm actually not sure. So yeah, just check it out on YouTube. Thanks for liking, subscribing, and sending it to other people. What are other learnings from the podcast? Also, let me know, Edmund or anybody else. Do you have a podcast? Are you thinking of podcasting? If so, tell me, why do you want to have a podcast? Remember, this goes back to number one. What is your goal and why you're doing it? Yeah. Podcasting is just a different way of like going live, doing live streaming, building relationships, having content for your podcast. So for one of these people who only gets his clients word of mouth, he now has a podcast recorded. And out of this recording, he can easily get like 20 video snippets from a 45-minute podcast. Isn't that amazing? And by using AI or someone who does it for you. Hey, Ronnie was on my podcast. He was awesome. People loved it. Hey, Ronnie, by the way, I just met someone yesterday, David. He used to organize lots of events in Australia, and he's like, oh yeah, I know Ronnie as well. So yeah, Australia, the world is a small place. It's all about relationships, right? Edmund, no podcast yet. JT wants to put us on his and go on ours. Very good. Definitely, like JT Fox has been on my podcast years ago when I still lived in China. That was really, really great. Great branding, having celebrities on it. And also, yeah, like starting a podcast, like since JT and Dennis do it, that's how they get access to all their multimillionaires and billionaires. And over the time, for example, Adam Coffey. JT and Adam Coffey do mergers and acquisitions together, right? So JT and his team reached out to Adam Coffey, and he is like amazing in mergers and acquisitions. But until they actually started doing business together and collaborated and had this partnership, I think it took, if I remember correctly, 1.5 to 2 years. It took some time because relationship building takes time. But when you basically tell a person, reach out to them on LinkedIn, on Instagram, you say, hey, Edmund, can I interview you for my podcast? Right? Hey, Mark, nice to see you as well. It's different to say, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? Can I interview you? Because I give value to you. I give you social media content. I give you, I basically, hey, Bakshish, good to see you too. You basically do something for them instead of saying, hey, Bakshish, do you want to buy my services, right? I'm still hoping, Bakshish, to be on your podcast. And how many times have I asked you to be on my podcast? I'm still waiting to have you on mine as well. I'll be in Shanghai from May 22nd. Hope to see you soon. So yeah, it's about giving value first. Give, 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 give. Whether you have a free lead magnet in your business, in your service, or asking people to be on your podcast, you're giving to them, you're serving others instead of asking, hey, I want this, I want you as my client, right? It's a different way of building this relationship, and then basically, you never know what's coming out of it. I was just thinking it would be hilarious. Back in Shanghai, I used to run these Monday morning motivation community events or internations events. And then like I actually even did matchmaking, and there's couples that came out of my events. And I was like, that would be so hilarious. Like, I do like global business matchmaking nowadays, also through the podcast. And sometimes, like, by understanding the speakers who are on my podcast, ask them, hey, what is the challenge you have? What's the need? Sometimes towards the end of my podcast, I would ask them, what do you need? Who should reach out to you, right? And then you guys can actually listen to it. And maybe this is the right person you want to do business with. But by me better understanding what this business person's need is, I can then think about, I can then think about it, and I can say, who do I know who I could introduce to, and maybe they can start doing business together, right? Really think about how can you over deliver? How can you do more? Maybe there's some profit sharing involved, or as I said, through the podcast, basically, right? Get them on your, there's tons of ways, different kind of models of what you can do in terms of podcasting. Oh, by the way, going back to the podcasts and my 30 days of doing daily podcasts. Oh my gosh, imagine this. For 30 days, I was allowed to learn for free from some of the world's best and most amazing business people, right? Like, I didn't even have to pay them any money to actually get coached, get mentored, get feedback, or whatever it is. Fun fact. So Shane Saw, give me a message if you have seen my podcast with Shane Saw. I actually, he is in the US, amazing in real estate. He has more than 400 properties, much more. Also has a film fund nowadays. I hosted him in the AIpreneurs community and his webinar. And then I asked him later on, you know what? I know he's a big guy. He has Ty Lopez, Grant Cardone on his podcast. But then I was like, wow, it is pretty amazing of what he has achieved. And look, I have nothing to lose and ask him, hey, do you want to be my podcast? Worst case, he says no. So he was like telling me, oh, because I'm a podcaster too. He shared a few of his tips in our preparatory call that I always do for 15 minutes before I book someone on my podcast. And then he was like, hey, you know what? I actually go live on the podcast, and then I post it on several platforms. And that's, guys, where actually my idea came from. Instead of just going live on one platform like YouTube, why not go live on all of my social media platforms? Okay, here's another learning, guys. I have over 60,000 followers on my social media. LinkedIn with over 30K is my biggest. But I actually cannot go live on TikTok yet. Or I would probably need a different device. I was not able to like connect it with the online platforms that I'm currently using. Now then for Instagram, that's why I use a different device here for Instagram. I'm not like using it through StreamYard, although StreamYard makes it possible. But there's a different kind of like learning, tech learning involved. Yes, I studied IT. I worked for HP for corporate. Hey, David, for many years. But again, I have never learned these kind of live streaming software and social media things. So I actually would have needed to go on ChatGPT on my Claude to find out how do I connect now my Instagram to my StreamYard that I can immediately go live on all of these platforms. But long story short, my stories sometimes take off, but coming back to this, it was Shane Saw before I started the daily podcast even, who said, he uses these online platforms. Do it on all platforms. But next learning. All right, Janine started to go live on several platforms at the same time. So then on my first time when I went live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and from my phone on Instagram, what happened? I think, Bakshish, you were there quickly. Suddenly, no, Ria, you were there too. Suddenly the sound was off. And I remember, I think it was Ria who then sent me these messages and was like, oh, Janine, your sound is off. And I'm like, shoot, I cannot change on my Instagram on my phone this sound to come back. But I didn't mute it. What happened? I put my phone not on the do not disturb mode. So someone called me, and someone called me twice on the phone, and it interrupted with the Instagram live streaming. And although you could still continue seeing my face, there was no sound. I didn't know how to change it in that moment. Again, that's why it does make sense to integrate my Instagram to my StreamYard or Riverside, get it connected. But again, the process of connecting it is different for your LinkedIn and so on. Whew. Okay, so you can see, gosh, I got so many learnings from tech, from and so on. But yeah, talking to like having other podcasters on your podcast and asking them for free advice. Shoot, I should get more podcasters on my podcast actually. That is a very good learning that I just got from reflecting with you guys. So yeah, free learning is the advantage of doing daily podcasts. So I did. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Long time no see. We actually studied together, right? In California. That's a long time ago, more than 10 years. How have you been? So going back to, yeah, daily learnings from the speakers you have who are the best in their industries without actually paying them, just by delivering some kind of value to them. And that is just the power of podcasting again. And I just got to say, I am so proud and happy that here I have different people from YouTube and LinkedIn that I can see that have joined me, but also people from Instagram today. And guys, it takes like momentum, right? If you go live every single day, people get used to it, right? They know, oh, at this time, Janine is live, but it takes like you constantly reminding them, sending reminders on your stories, for example, on Instagram, different kind of, oh, thank you for the heart. Yeah, it takes consistency. 30 days, whoo, it is tough, especially also on Saturdays and Sundays. Interesting learning here. So in Australia, no, actually, this is not even true. A lot of people actually were joining me on weekends. For example, they are like some of the people that made the most money, who are the most successful in terms of money and revenues. They booked themselves in to be on the podcast on Saturday, Sunday, more than actually people who booked themselves in on the like during the day. So regular people, and don't get me wrong, I am not judging anything, right, in terms of money, right? I don't want to measure success just because of how much revenues you make. But it is interesting that the most successful people from my podcast, I got on my podcast on weekends instead of weekdays. That now makes me think, shoot, should I really change month 2 into not doing any weekends, but actually just doing Monday to Friday? Let me rethink this again. So why do I do today on day 31 a reflection and key takeaways and learnings from 30 days of live podcasting? Number one, because whether you guys are a podcast or not. I want to inspire some of you guys like Edmund. Yes, you need a podcast. And if you need help, Edmund, I actually have a course on how to get your podcast started. I have people who can do it for you, done with you, done for you, whatever it is. But yeah, have a podcast if you are a business owner. And while I go through it, I had to write down a couple of things. I had to reflect myself here on what do I learn, what can I change. And while I now verbalize it and not just writing it down and actually journaling and reflecting about the learnings, you start to get new kind of learnings. And as you could see, like my point number 2, after talking about what is the goal of podcasting, I told you, look guys, I changed the process of my podcast on the spot, especially backstage. And some of you might not even have seen it, right? But yeah, well, saying this out loud, I actually get new learnings, as you can just see. And I'm just so happy that Ria, you're joining me, Edmund, Mark, and you guys are still here. I don't know, are there any questions? Any questions you guys want to ask me about the podcast? And I'm really considering to go 60 days all in. Mark has been working with me. I think, Mark, we're going to have a bit more time, a bit more work coming up. I think we need to do 60 days all in, even weekends. No excuses, because this is just who Janine stands for. It's part of my branding. That's just what I like, going all in 60 days without making excuses, right? Okay, you guys are listening. I'm going to commit 60 days, even on weekends now, instead of just Monday to Friday. Everyone can do that. Again, it also means if I'm not skipping on weekends, it means I am building up another 2 relationships each weekend. That's awesome. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for being on my side and supporting me on this big journey. Whew. Yes. That is crazy. No questions today. Nobody has any questions. I am surprised. Usually we get tons of questions. Let me quickly just see here from LinkedIn or anywhere. Oh, we have comments here. Someone was saying on LinkedIn, it was a beautiful 30-day journey. Yes, 30 more days of amazing topics. Thank you, Furzent. Furzent has been there like nearly every day. Edmund is saying, I'd have trouble with topics. I do the same thing every day. No, Edmund, tell me, what is your business about? Have we actually met? Because I'm also with JT. I would be surprised if we haven't met in person yet. We probably did, Edmund, right? Probably. Tell me, what is your business about? And I brainstorm with you on the spot. Number 1, if you have troubles coming up with topics, and guys, feel free to send me a couple more questions here in the comments now. So what do we do about, hey, I have no topics, I have no speakers. Number 1, that's why I do, and I invite, yes, we did meet at Mega Success. Amazing, good. Sorry that I'm so slow in thinking. So that's why it's great to actually do not the solo podcast like me today, but you saw that every single day I'm building up a relationship with a different person. So I'm inviting a different person from my target audience of mainly business owners, executives on my podcast to build these strategic relationships. I'm sorry, something else is flying around here. Good. Residential, const, and vacation rentals. Well, okay. How do I come up with topics? Number 1, you can just have JT1, the core brain. I'm sure that you are using it. Just ask JT1, the core brain, for topics. Or if you guys are just using ChatGPT nowadays, I really switched much more to Claude instead of ChatGPT, and definitely JT1 and the core brain is much better. So really make sure that you ask, hey, look, this is what a business is about. This is my target audience. This is maybe the region. This is the age of people. And what kind of topics can I discuss in my podcast that would that my audience might value, right? And this is something like, if you want to work with me on getting your podcast done, feel free to reach out. We can have like a call or so. Send me a message, or I can reach out to you later. Let's just have a discovery call. But yeah, I usually ask these details in in the beginning, and I can help you come up with, I can reach out, my team can reach out to people for you, do the guest booking, come up with topics. But yeah, that's why we have AI to come up with amazing topics. Or just like now, right? Before you launch your podcast, Edmund, why don't you ask your audience, hey guys, 10 days, 20 days from today, 1 month from today, I am going to launch my podcast. What topics do you really want to discuss? What are your biggest challenges? Do a survey, do research. If you don't want to use AI, ask your followers from LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on. Or do a survey from, maybe have a student do a survey or write a master thesis about it. There are so many ways to come up with topics. Trust me, Edmund, you will never run out of topics. It's just so easy. And you know, there's this guy, you may know him from the JT Fox community. I had him on Saturday. And Anton Guinea, he's based in Brisbane, Australia. So Anton has a great podcast, Find Your Influence. You can check it out on YouTube. And I think that Anton is actually sticking more or less to the same questions. And then he's asking the same kind of questions to different kind of people, different niches, different audiences. But he's asking the same questions. However, how does he reuse it now? So by the way, guys, if you have more questions, send me the questions. In the meanwhile, in the chat, I'm happy to answer it afterwards. So then Anton Guinea is asking the same questions to these different people. And now he's actually writing a book, or maybe he has already finished a book, because Anton wrote so many books. And he basically wrote a book about all of these learnings from these highly successful people on a topic, Find Your Influence, from his podcast, and writes the book. And again, because every person has a different key takeaway. One of my very common questions I ask my different guests on the podcast is, hey, Edmund, hey, Eric, how have you become successful? Right? And everyone, or I would ask, hey, Bakshish, what is your definition of happiness? What's your definition of success? And again, everyone's going to come up with a different definition. And again, you have variety in this. You won't get bored. Okay, I think I need to get an audience too. Yeah, first, Edmund, I think the first question I usually ask is, who is, like, for your business, like this is your own business, right? Who is your main audience? Like, who's your ideal client? Think about your business and the client you have, or the client you want to attract more. Who's your audience? Because later, when we create the templates for the intro, the outro, the thumbnails, and so on, we might actually design it according to your target audience. I'll give you an example. So remember, I am German, you're Austrian, right? We have a similar cultural background. But I lived in China for 8.5 years. So then what happened is, in China, you see, I wear a lot of red lipstick, red glasses, and so on. Hey, Rosa, nice to see you. Rosa was on my podcast on Monday. Oh my gosh, we had the best background ever in her restaurant, Oliveto in Sydney. Such deep conversations. Can't wait for our lunch catch up in the next few days. So going back to your audience, right? So in China, red is a really good color. In Germany, it might mean a bit more like aggression or power, right? In China, red is a good color. So I used to have, for a lot of like business owners, executives, red business cards. In China, it might make sense, right? Ciao, Rosa. But then again, if I want to attract, let's say, remember, I used to work for HP. I come from the IT, from corporate. So having like a CV in red, having a website in red, if you are targeting rational Germans from, for example, IT company HP, might not be the right way on how to do it. That's why everything we do in terms of podcasting, branding, the communication, the style of wording, and the colors even, it goes back to the first fundamental question, Edmund, who is your target audience, right? So yes, you're saying folks with homes who want to short-term rent or invest in those homes. Okay, good. Again, I would go deeper now, Edmund, and I would ask, because again, this is a big, big niche. Can we make this more specific even. Do you have a specific target age of these kind of people? Or is it literally from 20 years to 60 years? Do they have a specific kind of like, let's say, for example, here in Sydney, my friend owns a sales company, right? So some of these salespeople, they work a lot in the west of Sydney. In the west of Sydney, you have a lot of people with like migration background, a lot of Indian, Pakistani, people from the Middle East. So some of these people who have, for example, the same cultural background, they and maybe speak those languages, they're much more successful in their sales when they go like they do like direct sales on the street. They go to these areas versus them going to maybe the CBD area of Sydney, where there's a lot of like, I apologize if I don't say this like politically correct now, but more like white people, maybe, I don't know, like British, Australian, Irish people again, right? So the more detailed you are in your target audience, the better you can like adjust anything to them, the better you know your audience, right? Like, and then you will also start attracting the right people. So, fun fact, sure, it might seem like, oh my gosh, Janine, this is so overwhelming, there's so much I have to prepare. Again, that's the reason why you're more than welcome to work with my team at me. We get this sorted out for you. You don't have to hassle or stress. But then, you know what? Another entrepreneurial approach is just get started. Learn on the spot, or hire yourself a coach who has done it. Model someone who has been successful. Do competitor research. For example, I worked in Dubai. I gave some trainings for real estate people there, right? Edmund, it was founded by British people, and they grew to 300-400 people. When I worked with this, I gave trainings on mental fitness for those people in Dubai. Oh, Steve, so good to see you. Yeah, Steve is a great influence for me as well. After I met Steve, I spoke a lot about resourcefulness, my TEDx talk, and so on. So yeah, going back to this. Edmund in Dubai in real estate. Everyone seems to have a podcast in real estate. And then basically what you could do is in your area, in your state, in Florida, in your city, find someone who is maybe more successful than you, who is a competitor, and maybe this person has a podcast too. And then try to model them. Important is modeling and copying is not the same. Model this person. See what you can do even better by bringing in your authentic Edmund style, your authentic way of doing things, right? So don't reinvent the wheel. That's one of my mistakes. I always sit back in the past. When I became an entrepreneur in China, again, I'm a German, I was in China starting my company, and before that I quit my corporate job. It wasn't a plan, it just happened when I finished my studies in China and was still working for Hewlett Packard Germany. But yeah, again, why do I want to reinvent it? Find this person with the same niche, the same audience, or like who is somehow similar in their business, and then like do it better than them or model them. Model what works for them. I use this software actually where you can like outsource, or not outsource, the whole marketing you can do in this software. But basically we have prompts inside it. So in these prompts, we basically have a funnel hacking tool. What you can do is you can actually just like plug in someone else's funnel or someone else's video or script from a video or a website, and then you can adjust it to your own business, and it basically like gets modeled from their successful funnel, which it makes, for example, millions, but modeled to your own business. Yes, I hope that this helps. Okay, people who like to travel and live in different locations throughout the year. Okay, good. Yeah, so dig deeper, like really get back to their demographics. The more you know about them, like where would they mingle and which kind of online communities and which kind of, going back to the target audience, really like understand how they think. What are topics that interest them? And like on the podcast, sure, you probably want to talk about your business and on like homes and short-term rentals and investing in these homes, right, Edmund? But maybe you want to talk about other kind of things beyond this. And this goes back to different styles. JT Fox and sorry, I gotta drink something. So a lot of very successful people. I'm glad that you find it helpful, Edmund. Like, feel free to ask me another question. So JT Fox does a style, like when he was on my podcast, I think I only had maximum 10 minutes or even less. And then very successful people, because time is money, right? You would pay for the time, and some of them might be very successful to have on your, as very expensive to have on your podcast. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it, but they might just give you 10 minutes. So, um, and in these 10 minutes, you could really just get to the point and ask them these questions about your business to brand yourself, or that would really help your client and give them some extra value, right? But then on the other hand, the reason why my style of podcasting is 45 to 50 minutes in the podcast, I usually block an hour with the speaker. Remember, again, like we usually start at 10:15 a.m. Sydney time. Right now I'm in Sydney. Then I have 50 minutes of buffer time in case of tech issues, plus warming them up. Some people do it for the first time, others are a little bit shy, right? And then we go live. So again, then I have 45 minutes, and I do this because remember, my personal main goal is not just like the listener of my podcast. And I would really appreciate, guys, if you love what I'm saying, please subscribe to my YouTube, Business Meets Life by Janine Jakob, or and my Spotify too. Give me a like, give me comments, share my podcast to other people as well. Sharing is caring, right? But again, like my main goal is building these relationships to do business with these people, right? Or help them in their business. So that's why I do 45 minutes. And I cannot build up a super deep, like emotional connection with a person in just 10 minutes. I really appreciate, Edmund. You have joined me now for most of the podcast, right? And I thought, oh, today it's not going to be 45 minutes. It's just me speaking, just going to be maybe 20, 30 minutes. But again, like I get to know you a little bit more step by step, right? And we're building up a relationship by doing question, answer, storytelling, and suddenly you start to realize, oh wow, Edmund and I, we actually have the same coach. Isn't that crazy, right? Or we actually have met before. I just accidentally forgot. And you would not know these things. You wouldn't even talk about it if it was just 10 minutes, right? So let's see what Edmund's saying. Yes, JT's is more about validating the co-host. Exactly, right? Different goal of his podcast on why he is doing it. So that's why this goes back to number one, what I shared with you guys here today. What is the goal of your podcast? And JT's partner, Dennis, you know that like he's constantly getting in these new speaker nowadays, but he is constantly repeating when we do M&A deals with him on, and in terms of like, yeah, Dennis does a lot on M&A, right? But he basically talks a lot about get the people on your podcast and then like create this relationship. You don't know what's coming out of it. Good. Let me see if we have any more questions here on YouTube, LinkedIn. Probably not. Edmund, any other questions? Anything I can help you with? Look, I'm seriously happy to have a, let's jump on a call. Let's have a chat. Let's have a coffee chat, right? Maybe I should have you on my podcast, Edmund, and instead of having a coffee chat, we're just continuing this on the podcast while everyone else in the world is watching. But then part the difference would be you can actually talk instead of just sending me comments. Yeah, let me know what you think about this idea. And yeah, if there's no other questions, let me summarize. I guess you guys just help me reflect and commit to 60 days of podcasting, even on weekends, not just weekdays. Um, yeah, still improving processes, still improving delegation to the team, still using more automations and AI agents, work in progress. I think we can always do better on that. I actually have a coach. He is going to help me with more AI automations on Monday at 5 p.m. And on Friday, I'm also joining another session on how to do more with Claude Cowork and Claude Code. Let's see, Edmund, different lengths for different goals. Yes, we can chat some more. Haha, love it. We're gonna do this. Ich schreibe dir nachher auf Instagram. Good. Yeah. Lots of learnings. And you know what, guys? Today I was a little bit down. I mean, being an entrepreneur, we all have our ups and downs, right? But today I had a little bit of a down phase. And maybe that's why I said, you know what? Maybe I don't do it on weekends for the second month. But then, like, just speaking with you, and even just I appreciate, Edmund, you joined and you asked these questions, and that's again when the passion comes back up. Like, now you make me, Edmund, you make me feel very valued and good, because one of my goals in my business is I'm an impact maker. I want to give value to people. I want to make an impact for them, and I just hope I said something today that at least Edmund got some impact and value from it. Maybe someone else here in the chat, and maybe I will read it later in the comments if you guys leave me a comment and you like and subscribe. But I started to realize again, I actually feel so passionate about going live and yeah, doing podcasting. So yeah, thank you for that. Long story short, I see you tomorrow for our podcast, and Edmund will have an offline chat. Happy Thursday, wherever you guys are in the world. Maybe for some of you guys, it's still happy Wednesday. See you live again soon. Tschüss, Edmund, mach's gut, and everybody else. I see you soon for part 2 from 31 days to 60 days of live podcasting. Oh my gosh, the pressure is high. I need more speakers. Bye, guys. Take care. Tschüss, Edmund. Bye, everyone. Finishing here.